hay publicidad. Aquí estamos tomando fotos, vamos en el escenario, hay un aspecto público de ser músico comercial. Entonces siempre va a haber algo, lo que sea que te pones, alguien se va a ver lo que estás llevando, como ropa o como manejas su imagen, eso va a haber una imagen. Entonces o lo cultivas con algo artístico o vas ahí en tus sweatpants y un t-shirt, pero luego eso es un statement, eso también es una imagen de que nos vale verga, vamos a ir con sweatpants. And one is not more contrived than the other. Me gustaría mucho dirigir una película, un feature film, también documentarios. Sí, tengo varias ideas de documentarios, porque conozco a mucha gente muy interesante que conozco de ir de gira o que han trabajado conmigo y que me gustaría ya en este mundo de reality TV. Creo que otro modo de ver eso es que estamos todos interesados en documentarios, ¿no? Falta de historia, hay siempre historias, porque hay pocas cosas que se experiencia una persona, ¿no? Hay solo como 5 emociones humanas, ¿no? Entonces, y hay como que las leyes de la física no guardan las posibilidades de cosas que pueden pasar, entonces siempre han habido un límite a las historias humanas, es más bien cómo se describe esas historias, ¿no? Entonces no creo que hay menos historias ahora que antes, siempre hay muchísimas historias. Lo de remake, eso tiene que ver con las computadoras, que si te gustó Predator en los años 90 y si lo vuelven a hacer ahora, bueno, eso es un mal ejemplo porque nadie sobrepasó el original de Predator, pero con las cosas como Spider-Man o eso, la gente va a ir a ver los efectos. Y eso sí eso es lo que es interesante en Hollywood ahora. Los efectos son impresionantes y no se han podido hacer cosas así con computadoras antes. Lo que yo hago no es muy... I wouldn't describe it as telling stories. Creo que es más invoking ideas and emotions, and hopefully they stay together. ¿Está bien en inglés?
Perfecto.
Hopefully they stay together in a cohesive enough way, whereas the listener, you feel like you're understanding where I'm coming from or what I'm trying to convey, and that it somehow relates to you, or that it somehow provokes you to feel a certain way or think a certain thing. But it's not so much like Little Ditty about Jack and Diane, you know, it's not like I'm not interested in that kind of songwriting. I think I'm more interested in sort of abstraction and fragment, and the way that, like, you know, the right kind of fragments can actually kind of piece together into something that is consonant and cohesive, which, you know, maybe is a bit like, maybe there's some an analogy with painting and like cubism or something, where it's, you know, I'm not really trying to represent a woman like you expect to see a woman, but I'm trying to, you know, you have to get sucked into it, and you have to somehow come away with some sense of like there's, you know, woman there, you know, and I feel like I'm doing my lyrics like that, yeah. Something that we do together. It's not something that I think we sit down and say we should sound like this or we should have this kind of emotion. Is that if Daniel plays a certain chord progression, then Sam starts to kind of like vibe on a drum beat, that triggers me to sing in a certain way and find certain melodies, and therefore it becomes something that's more than each of us, but at the same time we like working with each other because there's that overlap of sensibility. So if I'm left to my own devices, I also will write some melancholy music, and Daniel writes very, very yearning kind of melancholy chord progressions. So we just have that in common, where we vibe together like that. But it's as simple as that. It's just like that's what happens with the chemistry of our unit. Because there's not that influence. I'm not reacting to, you know, Daniel's melancholy chord progressions. I have other facets of my personality that maybe don't, you know, have that much of a home within what we do as a trio. But what we do is, like, you know, I compare it to like a Venn diagram, you know, those circles. You know, like Sam has his influences, Daniel has his, and I have mine, and like in the middle we overlap, and that's Interpol. I think they're gonna be different. You know, that's why it exists. Is because it's different. So I don't know. I can't comment. I feel that when some of the songs on my solo work, are very free. Like I have no consideration of anything conventional at all. I don't give a shit. I just want to make something weird that interests me. I think if I was working with other artists, someone might come along and tell me like, "Hey man, like there's no bridge or there's no chorus. Why don't we work on that?" But when I work alone, it's kind of like I don't fucking need a chorus. You know, I'm just doing this. So I think inevitably when you work alone, it's going to be a little more free than if you collaborate with people. Well, I mean, it depends on what kind of musician you are. I'm not technically that good of a guitar player that I could just like rip a solo for 20 minutes and like, you know, freestyle. I mean, I could, but then there'd be a lot of wrong notes as well. So I'm a particular kind of artist that is not like, there's a big difference between like session musicians and people in jam bands where they have this, it's a point of pride that they can just kind of go. But I sort of like, I like sitting in my lab refining what I'm doing, and then I present that when it's ready. And I think that's also something that I have in common with Daniel, who's also much more that type of player. Like he's also not gonna get up there and just say like, go to the G, you know, like it's much more, he works at home and like makes his own music and then presents that to other people. So we're just a very sort of formalist kind of act. Mm-hmm. So I don't, sometimes I do like, like a little bit of improvising insofar as I'm capable of doing it. I think if it was like, if I got better at drums, I could do it more on drums, I think, because I think there's no wrong notes, you know. But on guitar, I just don't. I'm self-taught. I'm kind of a spaz with a guitar, actually, so I can do parts that I've practiced very well, but I'm not that good at improvising. And I don't miss that at all. If to answer your question, no, I don't mind that we never do that. I'm more than happy just to sort of like present our work. I think esa canción is my childhood. I've always loved that song, and yeah. I mean, I think I thought it was Neil Young when I was a kid because it sounds a whole lot like Neil Young. But I think I did it at karaoke one night, and it's like the only song I ever karaoke, and I was like, hey, I can sing that one. And also, I think I had to do that because on my first album, I didn't have enough songs for a whole concert, so I had to do some covers. So I did Horse with No Name and Into the White by the Pixies. But it was really more just because I needed more songs for the live. The song, obviously the song speaks to me. Yeah. I love the song, absolutely. There's many songs I'd like to cover. Like all the time I'm hearing new songs where I say, I want to do that. And I think maybe one day I'll do kind of like what Cat Power does and just like do covers albums. But she's got an iconic voice in a way that I don't necessarily. I don't see myself like that, but it would be fun for me to do that kind of thing. I mean, that would have to be a pretty big coincidence that all three of us suddenly really want to do one song in particular. I think we'd probably get too distracted writing our own song. Again, if you're just like working on your own thing, you can just say, I'm going to figure out how to play this and do a cover, and then it's like done. But I think when we're there writing and we're playing our instruments together, I think it's more fun for us just to like write some new shit than worry about doing a cover. I mean, each time you do a record, you then tour it and you get your own favorites for each record. So then you go, after 5 records, you just look at, well, which were the ones that we really liked playing and the audience really liked hearing from each record, and it's not always every song from the record, so that narrows it down right there. And then you mix it up a little bit, but you take like 6 songs from each of the 5 records that are like, you know, definitely got to play this one. You learn 30 songs before the tour, and then you just switch them up. But I mean, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I think as our later albums progressed, after albums 1 and 2, there's clearly like album tracks. There's like clearly songs that we kind of knew we're never gonna fuck with this live, you know, it's just for the album. I mean, I feel good about them. I think it doesn't get like that tedious like you might think. I think firstly, it's always fun for the band to see the audience react and just go crazy over songs, so that's fun. And I'm generally, when I'm doing a show, I'm really more thinking about the whole show. I'm not really thinking like one song comes along and like, oh, I don't want to play this one. It's like, we're doing a show here. I want to preserve my voice as we go. I want to keep my energy. I want to like make sure that everything has like a good arc to it. I never like single out one song. If there's a song I'm fed up with playing, then we'll talk about not playing it, But I don't mind playing Slow Hands and PDA and Evil because they're still fun. Again, I think it really is just that, I was attracted to being a part of Interpol because of the music that Daniel was writing when I met him. And his chord progressions generate something from me that then as a group, we've found our own chemistry. And it's a different chemistry. And I think that's just what I do in this band. That's sort of what it triggers in me and what satisfies me in the room when we're writing and I'm coming up with ideas. Like, it's just a reaction to that music that we're playing together. And when I'm writing my own music, it draws me in a very different way. I'm happy to have instrumental songs in my solo music. I'm happy to sample someone else talking in my music. I don't need to. Sometimes if I'm writing something, I feel like the top melody is in the music and I don't need to add to that. Whereas with Interpol, like, there's something in how Daniel writes and what we create as a unit that just triggers what you're used to hearing from me in Interpol. And it's just like, it's a chemistry. There's no explanation I can give you other than that, like, as my DNA as an artist and the DNA of the band, that's what happened.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.